9:30 on the 4th of June, and we welcome Reverend Brother Andrew McKean from the Anglican Church.
And the university.
TSSF, and I'm not sure.
And the university.
But thank you for coming, and I'll leave it to you to open the meeting for us.
You're welcome. E te koromatua Tim, e te kaiwhakahaere Emma, mena kai kaunihera, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. E te atua, mihi ana ki a koe. Malo le soifua, malo outou wha amanuia i lēnei vaiaso o le ngangana Samoa. Greetings of good health and blessings to you all during this Samoan Language Week. God of grace and truth, we invoke your presence as we begin this council meeting standing as stewards of our community. We carry forward our various faith traditions that call us to the service of others. And in doing so, we explicitly reject any path that would use religion to divide, to claim exceptionalism, or to build walls between your children. We gather instead under the banner of inclusion, committed to honouring Te Tiriti o Waitangi with genuine partnership, mutual respect, and shared justice. As we look at our city in the wake of the national budget, we acknowledge the anxiety and hardship felt by many in our community. We know that macroeconomic adjustments often fall heaviest on those least able to bear them. Do not allow us to become indifferent to the quiet struggles of those on the economic margins of Hamilton. When we debate infrastructure, rates and services, let the voices of the disadvantaged be the loudest in our minds. Grant us the collective will to shield the vulnerable from the fallout of public sector cuts and social strain. And remind us that the true measure of our city's success is not found in our financial surpluses, but in how we lift up those who have the least. Give us clarity of mind, warmth of heart, and unyielding integrity in all our conversations today. Mā te atua e manaki, mā te atua e tiaki. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, gentlefolk. I'm off to my other job at the University of Waikato as the ecumenical chaplain. I say my role is to put the manic back into ecumenical. Yes. And thank you. This won't guarantee you my vote, but I'm very grateful.
Well, everybody else should have had some by now.
Thank you. Thank you for your blessing, Reverend, and for the work you do in our community. And it's a really powerful reminder of how we're supporting all of our community and keeping them at the front of our mind. So thank you. So we have a full meeting today with a mix of public forum and hearings as well. So just bear with us as we kind of move through these different processes. I'll open with item 1 for apologies. So we've got full absence for Councillor Mead, Councillor Thompson. We've early departure for Mayor Tim McIndoe and Mangai Oli. And there's a lateness from Deputy Mayor Taylor, who is on council business. So are there any further apologies, lateness?
Chair, I've got some Zooms this afternoon that I need to go home and set up for, so what I'll do in our lunch break is I'll go home and I'll carry on Zooming into this meeting until I need to leave. It's a possible early departure.
Possible.
Early departure about 1:30 for me.
Thank you. Good incentive to move fast, or we might lose half our group. Okay, so I'll move that the apologies be accepted. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Mesh, all those in favour say aye. Against?
Carried unanimously.
Thank you. Item 2, confirmation of the agenda. So the only change that was made, which was circulated to elected members at the start of this week, is a change in item 12, which is the external funding policy review, which has been deferred to the next committee meeting. So I'll move that the agenda be confirmed with that change. Can I have a seconder? Chief Whip. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against?
Carried unanimously.
Very good. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations?
I have a declaration of interest, but I've spoken with governance and it doesn't preclude me participating or voting on the motion.
Thank you. So we'll note that. Okay, so we'll open now for public forum. I welcome Emma Brooks from Turn and Gymnastics Circle, who will be speaking to item 10, the proposed facility developments of Lugton and Marist Parks. Welcome back, Emma.
Morning.
Morning.
Thank you for having me once again. It's great to speak to you all. I think there's lots of new faces since I was here last, so really good to speak on behalf of Turn and Gymnastics Circle. Firstly, I just want to acknowledge the support of council staff, particularly Karen Kwok and Maria Barry, and then Samantha Jenkins and Hugh McCulloch, who have been instrumental in getting us through to the point of achieving resource consent for our proposed facility at the Eastlink Sports Hub. That partnership's been instrumental and we've really appreciated it. So for those of you that are new, Turn and Gymnastics Circle has been part of Hamilton for over 70 years. Today we're a club operating at full capacity. We are turning tamariki away, not because demand has slowed, but because we don't have the space to accommodate them anymore. What's in front of you today reflects years of collaboration with this council. We've been through the site selection process, we've aligned with the Eastlink Community Hub, and we've shaped a proposal that meets both the club demand and wider community need. This facility is not just for Turn and Gymnastics Circle, it's a community asset that's going to support participation, inclusion, sports, and the broader sports network across the city. So to publicly notify the proposed building is an important step in this shared work. It allows us to move forward transparently, and ensures we maintain the momentum that we've had for a few years now. While we're grateful to have a lease with Hamilton Old Boys in terms of our current location, that's only secured until April 2027. So as per usual, those of us that know us, we've been sitting in this tenuous space in terms of an operating facility for quite some years now. Demand is strong, but we still have people across the city who would like to participate in gymnastics that are unable to. So we're just asking today if you could support the public notification of our proposed building. We're really proud of the work that we've done together so far and optimistic about what's next, and we are really wanting to get this permanent facility to allow more people in this amazing city to participate as part of gymnastics and include them in all of the cool things that we believe that we can bring to as many people as possible. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou. Thank you.
Kia ora. Thank you, Emma. We do have some time for questions, so I'll open up the floor if there's any questions of members. No, there being none, thank you very much, Emma. Yeah, appreciate your clear presentation. We will be speaking to this at in item 10, and with all the drawings and history of what you've been through is clear. So thank you for your time.
Fantastic, thank you all.
Okay, so we'll move now into the Trading in Public Places and Hearings report. We have 3 submissions to be heard today in person, and these we should also consider the 95 submissions that were received in writing, which councillors have also had access to. So we'll open it with Peter H. Boss of Living Streets, Kirikiriroa, Hamilton. He's not here yet. Well, we won't welcome him yet. I'll hold that. Do we have Les? Les here? Yep. Les, if you would like to come forward and present your submission. You have up to 10 minutes to present today. If you want to take questions from elected members and
Thank you very
allow
much.
for time at the
Thank you.
end.
Thank you all for the opportunity. My main concern is the issuing by council of permits to buskers in the general public area. I'm the co-organiser of the Hamilton East Village Market, and we've had over the 14 years that we've been, or I have been running the market, we've had several instances with problems with buskers. My main concern was that when I approached the buskers, they presented me with a council permit, and the permit allowed them to busk anywhere in the general public area. Well, we've got an agreement with the shop owners that some of the shops we are not allowed in front of, and this particular busker went in front of a shop, and I approached him and said, could you please stop playing, and could you move from in front of the shop? And I explained to him why, and he presented a council permit. So I had to step back then. There was nothing further I could do. Now, the downside of it is that when the busker turns up, we have problems from the general public, from the eateries. It's the noise, the music, and some of them, unfortunately, are not very good singers. But the complaints that come back to me as the organiser is from the general public, the shops. It's quite upsetting, and we would have hoped that the council would have looked at their schedules on permits in which areas, whether it's Hamilton East, Frankton, and said, look, we've allocated this permit for a busker to go in the general area. What else is on? But we've had no communication with the council regarding this. And these buskers turn up, and I try to be very polite to them. We get the opposite from the busker. And I would like, if the council can, give that some thought and consideration when issuing the permits, that is there something else on in that community area. It doesn't help our market. We're a non-profit market, and all our profits go to the Westpac Rescue Helicopter, and to date I've given them 58,000. What the buskers do, it's only those 2 days in the month. It's the first and third Sundays. If the council could give us some consideration on not issuing permits to buskers over those 2 days, any other day they're welcome. So I'll just leave it there with you people, and I thank you again for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Les. It was very clear and some good examples of the practical barriers you face.
Yeah, thank you.
I will open it up for questions. We have a couple, one from Councillor Huata.
Morena, Les. Firstly,
Hello,
thank you to
good
you and
morning.
your team for the huge amount of money that you fundraised for the Westpac helicopter rescue. That's amazing. My question, just two really quick questions. Is your concern with the buskers pertaining to the lack of ability? That's the first question. And the second question is, do you have other organised music that attends those markets?
Yeah, the buskers, I can understand where they're coming from. They're the unfortunate people that are struggling and they're looking for another source of income. That's what I take on aboard. So, and a lot of them cannot sing or play. Just quickly, there's one gentleman who's, I'll use the term, I don't mean to be derogatory to him, he's a little bit slow, he sits on the footpath and he strums the guitar. I just leave him. He doesn't cause us any concern. The other ones, we don't, well, I don't have any power to really do it, but when I approach them, we have a lot of political parties and we have a lot of church organisations, and we don't want to align ourselves. It can get quite upsetting with comments from public back to me. I've even had phone calls of people saying, why is your market endorsing that particular following? So I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have one from Councillor Corrales.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in this morning, Les.
Hello.
My question is really following on from Councillor Huata's, and it's trying to drill into what the main concern is around the buskers and the licensing of them. Is the issue that you have reached agreements or there's conditions around your markets being able to operate outside particular shops, and yet we have licensed buskers who can busk anywhere in Hamilton East, including in front of these shops where you have agreed not to operate the market? Is the issue that they are some way associated to people who aren't aware of the situation, they're in some way associated to your market, and that reflects on you or the market's activities?
Yeah. I can see where you're coming from. The buskers don't know. We have about 4 shops who we work in with very well that don't permit us to go in front of them because they have told me that their shop frontage is their selling point, and I accept that. But there's no way that the council would even know which of those shops not for people to do busking.
Yes.
But here again, if the council would have contacted me and said, what's permissible, what is not, what hours do you operate, I could have enlightened the council and said, well, it would help us because over the years we have had a lot of problems with people going in front of the shops and that.
Yes.
So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, we have Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Very interesting. That's me. I'm talking to you over here, Les.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in and sharing the perspective. I guess my question, I have 2 questions which kind of line up with what my colleagues have asked already, but for me, the question wasn't quite answered in the way that I was looking for. First of all, to Councillor Huata's question, which was about the merit or the ability of buskers, and you've noted that some you're prepared to just let them sit and strum, and others you would prefer for them to move on. So my question is, from an operational perspective, what could council do about that? Because on one hand, you've said, can council come and talk to you about when's permissible and when's not, but that doesn't actually address the concern that you raised about some can sing and some can't. So my question is, what would you like us to do about that?
Yeah, I think I don't want to put a lot of work on the council, but when someone comes in for a permit to busk, do you test them? Have you heard them? If, I don't mean to be rude to the council here, but if I picked up some of those buskers and placed them outside your nice council chambers, you'd say, Les, what the hang are you doing? They cannot, they need to be tested some way, but then that's putting time and effort back somewhere on some department in the council. It's like going for a licence to drive. You have to be tested, and the buskers are tested in no a way at all. So I don't really have an answer. I don't issue the licence to the buskers. It comes back to a council problem. Yeah.
Thank you, Les. That concludes the 10 minutes. Thank you for indulging us with our questions and for your time today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I see Peter has entered the chamber, so I'll welcome Peter Boss from Living Streets Kirikiridoa, and I'll remind councillors that he sent you an email with his submission and supporting presentation today. Perhaps if you want to come up this side of the... Oh, lovely.
Off time.
No stress.
Good morning. I'm speaking on behalf of Living Streets, Hamilton Kirikiriroa. We oppose the removal of the footpath signs permitting register in the public places policy. About Living Streets. Living Streets Kirikiriroa is the local branch of Living Streets Aotearoa. Paid up membership of the national organisation are in the hundreds, plus hundreds more who follow on Facebook. Living Streets Aotearoa is similar to Living Streets UK and is a member of the International Federation of Pedestrians. Our aim is to get more people walking more often, with a focus on protecting the rights and safety of pedestrians. Being passed around is a photo of footpath signs. Please have a good look. Most of these signs are supplied by product suppliers with multi-million-dollar marketing budgets. Living Streets opposes the proposal to allow business to place one footpath sign without a permit. We support all footpath signs being registered so that the owner can be identified. I'll just mention what signs are there. So the Big Ben sign is owned by a British food company. The world famous Viral ice cream is a Chinese product. Red Bull is owned by a Thai company, and Pump is owned by Coca-Cola. These are the signs that are waiting to be put out into the footpath. What are we going to lose by allowing this change to public places policy? Foot traffic is already competing for footpath space with e-scooters, soon with children on bikes, sometimes with e-bikes and even cars parked on the footpath. Now we are facing a public places policy that allows a footpath to be reduced by 600 mils along retail frontages, compressing foot traffic, which consists of a growing number of elderly, disabled individuals who will be using mobility aids around more footpath clutter. These signs also are a hazard, are also a significant trip hazard for people with low vision when the footpath is busy. With no permitting, there will be no way of managing who places footpath signs. In neighbourhood shops, the most common sign is likely to be for a vape shop, supplied by a multinational corporation. Do not be surprised if the shopkeeper is incentivised to place a vape sign out front. This is corporate welfare, with almost no oversight. While our poorest and most vulnerable people who are struggling to get past the gatekeepers of the welfare they are entitled to keep losing their right to use footpath space through move-on orders. Whose job is it to protect public space? We're asking you, our elected representatives, to be the champions for public space for foot traffic. Public space is hard to price, but it should not be thought of as something you can gift, most likely to a multinational brand. We're asking you to provide more public space when you have the opportunity, not take it away. Living Streets Kirikura opposes a proposal to allow businesses to place a one footpath sign without a permit. We support all footpath signs being registered so the owners can be identified. And thank you.
Thank you, Peter. I'll open it up for questions. Senior Councillor O'Leary.
Thank you, Peter, as always, for a really clear submission. As you've identified in the draft policy, we are still proposing to only allow one footpath sign, but as you say, not registered and no fee. So if that goes ahead, what would you be suggesting we do for enforcement, basically, of one sign per business?
Your enforcement policy works as it is now. We've local shops by me. They must be about a decade ago. The council went through and told them what the policy was, and they comply.
So, sorry, are you saying that they would still comply with or without a permit and a fee?
They comply with the registered permit.
So your hard line is you want a fee and a permit back?
Yes, it has to be registered.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. Good morning, Peter.
Oh, hello. Good, I could hear it.
Thank you. I heard your argument about public space, about footpath clutter and championing the, I guess, real estate for pedestrians. A point that you made was that when there are signs out and the footpaths are full, that it makes it difficult to walk. Are the footpaths often that full, that it's actually going to create a genuine operational problem?
Oh, my local shops, yes, definitely.
Are you able to provide any evidence or?
Yep. I'll take some photos and provide you some evidence. Yes.
Thank you, because that would be very useful for my decision, or my thinking around that.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Moroney.
Thank you, Peter, for your for your submission. It is very clear, but I did want to just unpick a bit, because you've made quite a point around knowing who is the owner of the sign. Could you just explain a bit more for what purpose? Like, what would you imagine, or what do you understand councils need to know the owner of the sign would be about?
A decade ago, before the council went through and reminded the shopkeepers of what the policy was, all those signs were on the footpath, all over the footpath.
So what you're indicating is that if there was one sign outside a business, or if there was more than one, that they would need to be, it's for enforcement purposes that you're saying we need to know who the owner is?
How do you manage it if you don't know whose sign is whose? They're all big international brands that are providing the signs. they'll incentivise the shopkeepers to put them out. Well, they do.
Okay. You don't know if you were here before for the previous submission, but there was a view that shop owners had the right to decide what happened on the footpath and what didn't, in terms of the operation of a local market. Have you got had any experiences around that type of thing?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I haven't read that.
Thank you. That seems to be all the questions today. Thank you for your presentation. I have asked that staff circulate this document around, and of course we have your written submission to the website as well. Thank you for your time and your efforts. And that brings us to our final public submitter today, Dr. Jeremy Mail. Welcome, Jeremy. Yeah. Bring the flair.
Kia ora koutou. It is a pleasure to be here with you all to talk about trading in public places, and for Creative Waikato, we have a particular interest in busking, street performance, alongside the use of public places for creative activations and events. You'll see in the submission that we've supported the changes with a specific mention of the value of extending the busking permits and allowing amplification, which encourages activation and ambience in the central city. I wanted to focus on the value and impact that buskers, street performers and creative activations can make in public places, particularly with a focus on the CBD, but also note that the report articulates that many respondents emphasise the importance of creating more active, welcoming and vibrant public spaces. If we want positive change in the city, having outdoor activities, dining, markets and buskers are all important. They are part of attractive and engaging cities all around the world. Buskers can be an active, vibrant and adaptable component of the life of a city, and when the conditions are enabled, a culture of street performance can become an iconic part of a thriving CBD, and the Council can help to prioritise those opportunities. Having a working busking ecosystem contributes to a sense of place, to economic activity, and to a range of other social and community outcomes. Street performers create crowds, they get strangers making eye contact, they create shared cultural experiences, they can create safe spaces. All of these things align positively with known measures of urban prosperity. The research shows that the presence of street performance in a public space may enhance the perception or experience of that space. It also shows that it can evoke a sense of security or stability, and has also been shown to alter the mundane order of a public space and can make that space more sociable and more connected. All of these can be positive developments for our city. I wanted to make a quick reference to the small number of concerns in the report feedback which were raised around the allowance of amplified sound and the impact that this could have on busking permits and also event permits and other things. As a professional musician and audio engineer, it is clear to me that those noise impacts that some people might be concerned about are not actually mitigated by not allowing amplified sound for busking. And I wonder if perhaps some of those concerns are more based on aesthetic reasons or perceptions of taste. From a pragmatic perspective, noise levels are measured in decibels. The Events Handbook, recently released, outlines the various noise limits in different parts of the city. These are set already by city bylaws, and there are scientific tools that can be utilised to ensure that the people with busking permits are doing what they have the right to do under those guidelines, amplified or not. I just wanted to share some imaginary contexts. A singer-songwriter who is performing using a microphone and small amplifier could be working at a comfortable and engaging sound level around 75 decibels, as set by the guidelines. And the use of that amplifier enables their performance to be balanced and also provides a level of safety for the vocalist so that they can sing for an extended period of time without damaging their voice. If amplification is not allowed, this won't be possible, which means that the busker and their health might be at risk, they might be less likely to perform, or won't have the level of audience engagement that actually makes the positive contribution in the city. Meanwhile, without having amplified sound, there are a broad range of acoustic instruments that are actually louder than some amplifiers, and this would still be possible. I could perhaps turn up with a walking brass band, which sits at around 90 to 110 decibels, or a bunch of bagpipes, which are about the same level, or perhaps set up a percussion ensemble, which can get up past 120 decibels, or the equivalent of a jet plane taking off. These are all acoustic instruments that work without amplification, and so the framework for including amplification or not is actually not a useful measure. Just use the frameworks that you already have in place and use that as a way to make this work for everyone. Let's choose to encourage a variety of different buskers to use the frameworks effectively to enable more creative activations and a variety of artistic expressions to become a part of an even more vibrant and thriving city. This is certainly part of the city that we all want to see. I want to see a city where street performance in all its forms, music, theatre, performance arts, circus and more, is part of the fabric of our city. Hamilton actually has a wonderful past in street performance, and you can look back over the years with groups like Free Lunch and others, but it has been at risk of becoming pushed out of existence with permit complexity, event processes, equipment restrictions, and other barriers that can make accessible creativity less of a feature. When this is packaged with negative stereotypes, limitations on healthy performing practice, and limited civic support, this discourages many artists from performing in public, and we have an opportunity to change that. I'll finish by sharing some insights from an international research project exploring the effect of street performing and busking policies on the quality and experience of public space. And this looks at cities all around the world. And essentially they share that buskers can build positive community spirit when the busking community is self-regulating. It doesn't need a bunch of regulations and conditions set by anybody. Mostly these are shown to stop positive activity from happening. When properly implemented, a best practices guide for busking can be hugely rewarding for all concerned. Buskers can ply their trade, express themselves, perform their art and earn a living, all with the support and encouragement of the city or town in which they work. The researchers go on to share that when maintaining a happy and self-regulating busking scene, the local authority helps to provide a thriving and culturally rich urban environment for their residents and visitors. The more astute authorities can then leverage their city's reputation as busking hubs in order to build their cultural and economic credentials, and managed carefully, a flourishing busking scene can also be a valuable source of PR. I encourage the council to do what they can to make this a part of our city moving forward, and while it might have been way more memorable or engaging if I had accompanied myself on a keyboard, I still thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Dr. Mount. We have a few questions. Councillor Moroney.
Thank you, Jeremy. Memorable without the keyboard, by
Wonderful.
the way. What do you think about the idea of quality control of busking? You got thoughts on that? And
yeah.
Self-regulation, you know, how does that work?
If you have a quality of busking, like the more buskers you have, the more they self-regulate and the quality ones come forward. Having a system of auditions is not helpful, and that research shows that that process of regulation actually just limits the activity. What we've got at the moment is a little bit of a challenge around Hamilton not having a strong busking culture, and so the quality of buskers may not be, people don't see it as an option because we don't have a culture of it. I think there is an interesting opportunity to create the foundations for that. Yes, there are some additional challenges in that people carry less cash, and so busking being a cash process does create a barrier, but there are some technological things that we could explore around that. I think also within this, the CBD, the opportunity to kind of set up busking zones that are like identified areas where busking is encouraged may create a framework where people choose to be there and the quality will kind of self-select.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have Councillor Corrales.
Yeah, thank you. Just always appreciate your considered, thoughtful, intelligent contributions. My question is picking up on Councillor Moroney's, and it's around the use of busking zones or busking hubs. not necessarily just in the CBD. Could you just maybe unpack that a little bit in terms of how that might operate across the city, particularly around the quality piece, but also around where it might conflict with other events that are happening and what other people want to be doing at a particular time?
I mean, it makes good sense for buskers to want to be at places where there are other
Yes.
events, because
Yeah.
that's where the market is.
Yeah.
It's a economic activity. But if you can set up zones where it's like, here is the busking area, and you can see that in London along South Bank, they have different kind of painted circles on the ground that are designated busking zones. And your busker knows that they can be there, and that's the ideal place for it to work, and it works as a balance between other shop owners and lets space for pedestrians to move and stuff. And so then you have someone who might be there for an hour, and then they go and someone else takes the spot. I mean, we're at the point now where there wouldn't be concern over fight for spaces because there's not as many people busking. But if it does get to the point that we're inundated with buskers from all around the world, then you just set up a booking system. So like reserve your space in those busking zones. And that could be a way of setting the framework for it to work for council without having to create additional burden to audition people or regulate things. Just set the conditions and allow it to happen rather than kind of meddle too much.
Just one quick one. Are we doing this anywhere else in New Zealand?
In
That's
terms
where
of
it's working well?
allocated zones,
Yes.
not that I'm aware of. I mean, there's a big busking community in Wellington, and they do have kind of set places that they typically go, but I'm not sure how it works within the council context.
Thank you.
From Senior Councillor O'Leary.
Oh, she'll indulge me. Thank you so much, Chair. Most of the questions have been asked, but this morning we had a submitter that raised concerns around buskers, in quotation marks, at Hamilton East Market, and it seems to me like these are, the issue is buskers being those on the poverty line looking to get some money. So you're the expert. What is the definition of a busker?
Well, busking is street performance. So it's a level of kind of credible performance technique that happens in a street that is accessible and contributes positively to the environment. That's not a judgment on someone's poverty position or anything.
Yeah.
And I do think that there are ways to mitigate that by proactively booking performers. Because
Okay.
if there are performers that you're happy with in the market, other performers won't be there because there's already someone doing that job.
Yeah.
So the market could potentially choose that as an avenue to make that happen.
But so again, that sounds to me adding weight again to your opinion on busking zones.
Yeah, just set the conditions where they are.
Okay, thank you. Always good to see you.
All good.
Some very helpful comments and a balance of views there, so thank you.
And if there's interest, I'm happy to share that research report around the busking and policies in cities if that's useful.
That would be wonderful, thank you. I'll now invite Emily to come forward to present the report and then ask members to open up for any further questions from staff or directions ready for the deliberations report, which will come to us on the 27th of August committee. Over to you.
Morena koutou, ko Emily James toku ingoa. I'm a strategy and policy advisor. Firstly, I would like to thank all the submitters who have taken the time to engage in this process, both those who have spoken today and those who provided written submissions. To set the context for today, no decisions are being sought from Council at this point. Today is an opportunity for elected members to hear and consider the feedback received and to identify areas where further information, analysis or clarification would be helpful. Any questions raised today will be addressed through the deliberations report, which will come back to the committee on the 27th of August. For a decision on the proposed amendments. I'm happy to take any questions on the process today and to understand what information you would like brought back in that deliberations report.
Thank you. Board lights up, back to Senior Councillor O'Leary.
Are you allowing me again? Oh, indulging me. Thank you, Emily. Really great report and summary of submissions. For the deliberations reports, I would like some information on how we communicate with events, with regular occurring events in particular, like the Hamilton Easter Market. I would like some information on what City Safe's role is in responding to complaints about buskers, and what management, if any, would be involved in checking, busking permits. I would like some information on the foregone revenue for the footpath signs and how we could, without a register and without a fee, how we will ensure enforcement, and whether it would be possible to implement a stronger penalty fee for a breach instead of, so we use the stick. I would also like some information on how the public liability insurance will be managed and where the risk transfers and what exactly that risk is. And lastly, I would like some information on if we include the definition of a busker, as we heard from Dr. Mayo just now, can you show us how that might or might not help with policy? And also, if we were to go down creating busking zones, how would we do that and how would we monitor it? Did you remember all that, Emily? Because you weren't writing and that was a lot.
It will all have been recorded.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I would like some prizes back.
Yeah. Yep, all good. Deputy Councillor Casey Cox.
Thank you, Emily. Peter mentioned his recollection of a decade ago with the signs, so I'm just after some information on what that reality was and why we shifted towards a permitting approach for signs, and yeah, just some context around that to understand our shifts prior. And I guess the value of developing a best practice guide for buskers, if that's within scope, just maybe in collaboration with Creative Waikato. And yep, no, Councillor O'Leary covered it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Huata.
To add to the sharpness of our senior councillor, just one really small thing, indicated by Dr. Jeremy Mel was how we measure sound and acoustic versus amplified. I thought that was a really sobering example, so if we can consider that.
Thank you. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you. Morning, Emily. I have a few questions about a few different parts of that policy. So if I start with the busking, what specific problem are we trying to avoid by regulating this? Do we have clarity on, is it we're trying to manage the volume? Are we trying to manage the frequency, the location? Can we have some clarity around what it is that we're trying to fix? A question about the signs. Do we know, and this was a question that I directed to our submitter, Peter, earlier, do we have any evidence around crowding? I mean, he asserted that there are places in our footpaths that get crowded, and if we deregulate the signs, then it's going to create this big problem for pedestrians. I did ask him about providing some evidence, but I wondered if we had any evidence on that as well. Also, in terms of the signs, do we have any, or have we had any conversations with small businesses about the impacts of this on them? We've looked, or we will look at it from a pedestrian perspective. How will that impact businesses if we go ahead or don't? Question about the public liability insurance. Has the requirement that we currently have actually been causing problems? again, what is it that we're trying to solve? Did the problem arise from businesses? Like, did they come to us with it, or where did it come from? And that was all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Moroney.
Just one request, and it might be inherent in the request from Councillor O'Leary around the revenue, and this is to do with signs, the permitted signs. But I'd like to know what is the number of permitted signs currently in the city, and it would be good to know about clusters and locations as well for the report. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. That seems to be all the questions today. Thank you, Emily, for your time. Do we have a mover for the item? Deliberations, Councillor McDonald, and a seconder. Councillor Corrales. I'll open the item for debate. Is there any debate? I'll just take a quick moment. I just want to thank everyone who took the time to submit online and in person. It's an important part of the process and ensuring that we get the balance of right for our city. The submissions so far show strong support for reducing unnecessary barriers, particularly from our hospitality sector, our small businesses and creatives. Some of these rules create a low barrier way for creatives to enhance our city. Some places around the world use busking as part of their city identity, and I think of Queenstown, who really embraces it, almost to the point of it becoming a tourist attraction in itself. I think the suggestions of busking zones and guides will help drive that quality and ensure that quality is there, and minimise the impacts. And I think it just mirrors what's set out in the Mayor's plan around Central City revitalisation and creating a more vibrant, active, welcoming CBD. So I thank everyone for their suggestions and look forward to the deliberations report and getting that balance right on the 27th of August. Thank you. We have a few more that have jumped on, so I'll ask Councillor Moroney.
Chair Pike. I first of all want to congratulate staff for their work on this piece, and also everyone who made a submission. It's reminded me about what an important piece of real estate our footpaths are. It's really interesting when you start talking about the pieces of infrastructure around our city and what is very important to people. And sometimes the very footpaths that we're walking on can just become part of the environment. But in fact, for many people, they are their pathway to participation in society and in our community. They are a place where we want to see vibrancy, where we want to see safety, and where commerce takes place as well. So there's a lot going on those sometimes quite narrow pieces, but really important part of the infrastructure of our city. So I look forward to deliberations on these two pieces of policy that we're looking at that monitor what goes on our footpaths. I am excited by the idea of busking zones. I've certainly seen both overseas and I think domestically where they have worked really well. I guess they work really well in a sense where you don't even know whether it's regulated or not, but you notice that that's where busking occurs. And it seems like a really natural part of our environment and a vibrant part of it. So really looking forward to the discussion going forward. Thank you.
Councillor Moroney. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. If I look at the global perspective of what we're trying to achieve through this whole conversation, it's to have a city that works well, that supports business in terms of the signs, actually also in terms of the busking, and to make our city vibrant. Now, I also support the idea of busking zones. because that enables what our submitter was talking about in terms of self-regulating. Now, self-regulating works really well when it works, but if we also listen to our earlier submitter, it doesn't work well when it's not working. So I think that the balance for us will be to find that space between letting things work and not over-regulating things. Because if we go down the track of over-regulating, not only are we going to create a huge amount of work and probably a whole lot of frustration, that might not solve the problem either. But on the other hand, we do want to, I guess, support and enable these things to enliven our city. So I too look forward to the deliberations report and continuing this discussion further. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes. So we have a mover and a seconder, so I will, all those in favour say aye. Sorry. Against? Carried unanimously. Oh, sorry, I stole Steve's part. Perfect. We'll now, sorry.
And I just wanted to make a wee announcement about Emily James, actually, who I think we'll all agree has been presenting some really good quality reports and presentations to council through her role as policy. But she's recently been appointed as the new Community Development Manager, replacing Philippa Clear. So while we're really sad to lose Emily from our team, we're really excited that she's taken up this role within council, and it's a wonderful opportunity for her and for the team. And Philippa Clear, if you don't already know, has taken over from Paul Blumen as the City Safety Manager, reporting to Kelvin. So some movements there. We're really pleased to keep these quality staff within our organisation. But just wanted to thank Emily for her very good work. You'll see her again later today. But yeah, and just to congratulate her.
Congratulations, Emily, and a reflection of your hard work. So thank you for all you do for us.
I might just add for clarity, she stays firmly in that community space but moves to my group. So we work very closely with those teams in community and customer anyway.
Thank you. So we'll open up to item 7, the Chair's report. Oh, sorry. I was so eager. We'll go to the confirmation of minutes, item 6. We have a mover and a seconder. No changes made. No. I'll, all those in favour say aye. Aye. Against?
The motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. Now we will open it up for the Chair's report. I'll take this item largely as read, but just highlight some key points. At Waterworld, it's fantastic to see we've had over 10,000 visits in a month, 267 new memberships, and 500 people already using the new program. So it really shows the demand on our aquatic spaces and how much the upgrades have been appreciated by our community. So I just want to thank staff for their work in supporting that, and yeah, it's really fantastic to see some pride in our spaces. At the same time, services like animal control are under increasing pressure, as a visit to the animal control centre showed to our councillors. They handle over 7,800 requests a year, and that's only growing as our city does. So the team are working really hard to respond to those pressures. These are both examples of opportunities and challenges we need to be mindful as council moves through the LTP process, whether it's investing in our facilities, supporting partnerships like our Aurora project, Aurora Park project, or ensuring our services are keeping pace with the growing city. So just asking that members are keeping these practical realities at front of mind when we're setting our priorities and going through our LTP discussions. So I'll open it now for questions. Are there any questions? the board lights up. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Chair. I have one question and it's about the Youth Council. How are we going to know that or in your report you noted that Youth Council should be meaningful rather than symbolic. So my question is, how will we know that we're achieving that, and are there any particular outcomes or indicators that we'll be looking for?
Kia ora. Yeah, so I guess we're working on the Rangatahi Action Plan 25-28, which was set by Council in terms of how we can monitor the progress. But I guess the real question is how Council, as individual elected members, how we're engaging with our city events, how we're taking in submissions and encouraging submissions from our youth council and from rangatahi in our city in general. So there's not an official framework outside of the Rangatahi Action Plan, but if you want to see further actions around that, we could get staff to investigate as a staff action on what those might look like. I'd be open to.
Thank you. That would be really good so that we can make sure that it doesn't just become an intention, but it is actually operationalised.
Measured. Thank you. That's a good point. So, your questions? We'll go to Councillor Moroney.
Thank you, Chair. My question was actually of a similar vein around how we engage Youth Council, and I just wondered if there's been any thought given to some of the previous models that have operated within council. Like, I think we decided it was called the Council of Elders, which from memory, and I wasn't on council at the time, had quite a proactive advisory role directly to the council, and whether any thoughts being given to a similar model with our youth council.
Maybe we could incorporate that into the staff action as a part to be considered. But yes, that was a previous.
Thank you.
Process. Deputy Anna Casey Cox.
Just a question on the Aurora Playground. I agree it was a wonderful opening. There was also a concern expressed at the opening around the crumb rubber breaking off already, and I'm just wondering, because it was articulated as a concern, or to the group, what we are doing to follow that up or monitor it.
Yeah, that would be a question for staff.
So I can give a brief response to that. So staff have taken those concerns and spoken to the manufacturers, and we're told that it's not normal for large amounts of the crumb rubber to be breaking off, so we're currently investigating why that has happened.
Okay.
And what can be done about it.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Councillor Cross.
Thank you. I had a question similar, or perhaps it's related to Councillor Moroney's question, and it could be a matter for clarification. But for me, in relation to the Youth Council and why we have the Youth Council, was there any thought given to a council of elders, and do we have any, is that in the pipeline, given, I guess, the intelligence and the wisdom and the experience that something like that would bring to this council? I'm not putting my hand up for that. Some of us have spent some time in residential aged care facilities, and there's some very good insights that have come from those sessions.
I won't comment on who may or may not qualify for that, but again, we'll take that back as staff action. So we'll, from young to old, we'll look at how we can support these contributors to our city. Councillor Strange.
Thank you, Chair. Question about the Aurora Playground, and I acknowledge the collaborative approach, which I fully support. I'm interested in the procurement and delivery of the project, and who led basically who led that? Was it council? Was it the developer? And also any lessons learned from council during the building of this playground and the collaborative partnership approach?
Thank you. Can I defer it to Maria?
Yes, I can probably, it's probably best that I provide that information or circulate that information to give you the level of detail you're looking for.
Good, thank you.
Councillor Huata.
Kia ora, just extending from Councillor Corralis's pathai question about including our elders, and I did have a little bit of a laugh with her about that. Can we also consider, if that's something we're going to follow, the input of Rauawa Kaumātua Charitable Trust? They celebrate 85 years of being open this year, so there's a lot that aren't captured within the residential aged care space. And if we're going to go down that track, we should also consider our disability community and all those other types of communities too. So how far do we want to go really in that space? Also to note, just with the Youth Council, fully support that at an operational level. And I did mention in my last hui that we had about having them at council, and then our lovely Mayor Tim made a remark that they're mostly at school, and they are, but it's actually only one of them that's still at high school. The rest are at university or at, working in other arenas, so they can actually come to council if it's planned well in advance.
Kia ora. And we do have a disability forum already as
Yes.
well. So
No, I do know that.
there
But
are there are many ways our community engage with us, but yeah, I guess through the staff actions we can
Coordinated
look
approach.
at the wider scope of.
Just get some clarity on the staff actions. So there's a few things that I've heard today. I just want, because there will be resource required around administering councils, council of both elders. You know, we've got the youth council. I've heard other councils. Can it just be clear around what's being requested of staff to do here?
Coordinated approach of the information that you gather from those forums that really shouldn't require that much more extra resource, just bringing that information together and see how that can be executed at an operational level.
So from the existing forums, is it? Okay, got it, okay. Thank you, just getting clarity. Yep.
I think there was a bit more to it, encapsulating Councillor Moroney's and Councillor Corralis's. I think it would just be initially just a high level investigation of what potential options could look like, and bringing that forward to council for consideration. And for Councillor McDonald, it was about how we can measure success for the youth council and ways for them to engage. Okay. That's Councillor Huata will move. Can we have a seconder? Mangai Oli. I'll open for debate. Any debate? We've got a few. Councillor Moroney.
Oh, thank you, Chair Emma. First of all, congratulations on the report. It is a great mix of seeing progress in this area and also raising with us some ongoing challenges for community. So it's a really good mix of things to be pleased about, things to challenge ourselves about. I do want to speak around the role of the Youth Council, and the questions were really interesting. It is my view that we should have a very strong focus on the Youth Council as opposed to some of the other councils that we've just talked about, because, and it was a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but actually we do have the wisdom of age experience sitting around this council table. We do not have the wisdom of youth experience sitting around this council table, and that's why I think it deserves particular resource and particular focus that is different from what a council of elders might have to offer. This is not to say that it's not worthwhile to pursue that, but for me, I'd like to see the staff resource and emphasis going into how we can make better use of the Youth Council first and foremost, for that very reason, because we do lack that voice around this table. We do not lack the voice of older people around this table. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Very good point. again, not naming names. And Mayor McIndoe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just before I go on to a couple of the topics specifically covered in your report, could I thank you for it, and in particular to you and your Deputy, Councillor Casey Cox, and by extension other councillors for the great leadership you're showing in our community. As Mayor, I'm out and about a lot, and I'm actually really encouraged by the comments that I'm receiving from members of our public about how pleased they are to see such a good number of councillors supporting many events. And I'm mindful that actually if you were to cover all of those events in your reports, we'd probably end up with 500-page agendas. There's a huge amount happening, and that's great. It's exactly what we want in a growing and vibrant city. If I can focus particularly on the upgrade to Waterworld, I haven't actually seen it since the upgrade was completed, but I am aware of the fact that that work was greatly wanted, and reading your report is hugely encouraging, particularly the uptake in membership and appreciation for it. So could I, through you, pass on thanks to everybody involved in that upgrade. It's incredibly important that we have really good aquatic facilities in our city. We have a huge population. There are increasingly fewer schools that are able to provide swimming pools, and I'm sure we all want to see our young people in particular, but also many members of our migrant communities who come from other countries where access to swimming was not very easy. And so a lot of our migrant communities are not very confident in the water, and that's why it's so important that we are providing a really top-class facility. And again, I'm very appreciative of what's been done. The other thing is I just want to note your comments about the animal control visit. In your report, I was one of a few councillors who was unable to accompany you on the visit that you took to the centre on the day that it happened. I very much hope that it might be possible for us to, those of us who were not able to go, to do that. I don't want to interfere with the work of the staff, but as you have noted, staff often work in challenging and emotionally difficult situations, balancing community safety, responsible ownership and the well-being of animals. There's a huge public interest in this issue. We need to know what they're doing, and in particular the challenges they're facing.
Thank you, and I'm getting large nods from that corner of the room, so I know the animal control team welcome visits from any member who at any time, so yeah, feel free to reach out. Deputy Councillor Casey Cox.
Thank you. Just want to echo Mayor Tim's recognition of you, Chair Emma, and your out and about in the community all the time, and it's what we would hope for of a chair of community, so I just really acknowledge and appreciate that. I did pop to Waterworld last week, and it is incredible, the upgrades, and what I was struck by too was the numbers of young people there. So that was just great to see, like a really accessible space. Thanks to the staff for picking up on the concerns raised around the Aurora Playground. I do think public-private partnerships perhaps require increased scrutiny because there's a level of control that we perhaps lose in those processes. So I just really appreciate the follow-up around that, and Councillor Jamie's request also. The animal control visit was hugely emotional for me, but I just think the staff are incredible because they have to deal with that on a day-to-day, and that was just one visit for me and I found it hard. So just a huge appreciation to the team for their work in that space. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Liu.
I would like to acknowledge the chair for continuing to focus on important community issues, particularly around community well-being and emergency response capacity. These are long-term challenges, and I appreciate the ongoing work that you've been undertaking on behalf of Hamilton Repair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Huata.
E tanuku ana ngā maunga o Hekurangi o Pūtaua ki te hinganga o tā Tāmati Riri, rāua ko tā Hirini Moko Mead, kei ngā kākā wahanui, kei ngā tōtara haimata, e moe, e oki. I wish to acknowledge the passing of two towering leaders of our nation, Professor Sir Tāmati Riri and Sir Hirini Moko Mead. These extraordinary men dedicated their lives to academia, to the advancement of te reo Māori, mātauranga Māori, education, research, governance, and the preservation of our cultural identity. Through their scholarship, leadership, and unwavering commitment to future generations, they helped shape a stronger and more inclusive Aotearoa. Their life's work reminds us that progress achieved not by division, but by understanding partnership and a commitment to honouring the promises made between peoples. Their legacy is particularly relevant as our country navigates significant challenges, including the urgent Waitangi Tribunal inquiry examining proposed changes to the Crown's obligations under Te Tiriti o Waitangi. Here in our communities, we too face complex challenges. We are navigating central and local government reform, rising living costs, increasing homelessness, and the growing impacts of climate change. These affect everyone. And this is where unity is needed. We must ensure the voices of our rangatahi are not only heard, but actively included. Today, approximately 44% of New Zealand's population is under 35. That's 2.4 million people. These young people will inherit the decisions we make today. They bring innovation, creativity, courage, and fresh perspectives that are vital to shaping the future of our communities and our country. The Youth Council provides a direct pathway for young people to contribute to council thinking, advise on issues that matter to their generation, and help shape the future of our city. The legacies of Sir Tamati Redi and Sir Hidini Moko Mead remind us that leadership is ultimately about leaving something better for those who follow. If we honour their example, unite through the challenges before us, and empower the voices of our rangatahi, then we can build a kirikiriroa, a Waikato, an Aotearoa that future generations will be proud of.
Thank you, Councillor Hoata, and for acknowledging the passing of our rangatira. That's a significant loss for our community and for our people, and we owe it to them to carry their legacy forward. Thank you. Councillor Strain.
Thank you, Chair Emma. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge Chair Emma and Deputy Chair Anna for your work in the community. Your heart for people really shines through. The way when you engage genuinely with people out in the public, I can see it means a lot to them. So well done. The Aurora Playground. I was privileged to attend the opening of the playground. Really enjoyed it. It's a fantastic playground. Probably the best view of any playground in Hamilton. Is it? Yeah, and I know it's going to be well used. And I'd like to acknowledge the staff, particularly Maria Barry and her team, for the work they did to deliver this playground in partnership with Northview Construction. The public-private partnerships create an opportunity for us to save some money on our community infrastructure. This was a 50-50 payment approach, so it was 500k in total, and council put in 250 and the developer 250, which I think is a good model. Obviously, it's a model that as we move forward, both staff and the developers will help to refine. But I do encourage this model to continue. I think it's really good to see. This playground is going to help in terms of the growth and attractiveness of peacocks. As a council, we've invested a lot of infrastructure in peacocks, and it's great to see some of the soft infrastructure coming, which will support the growth in there. So well done to the team, and we look forward to further public-private partnerships like this in the future. Thank you.
Kia ora. Thank you, Jamie. Senior Councillor O'Leary.
Thank you, Chair. Again, look, I just want to pile on. Thank you so much for an excellent report, and again for the length of personal time that you spend and your deputy spends out in the community after hours and in the weekends. And I know that you're only surpassed by our mayor, and he has excellent staff keeping an eye on him for work-life balance, but it probably doesn't work. But I want to...
Tell that to my wife.
Yeah. Look, I just actually want to strongly support Councillor Moroney's debate points and her emphasis around the resources going to Youth Council. And I do try, as the longest-serving member, not to bring up the past. But in the past, what was a constant frustration for me was the real value lay in the flow of information from when we had Council of Elders and we had Youth Council. And I used to get frustrated, and I lobbied a lot for that flow of information to improve. where it's appropriate, when council is working on a plan, a budget, a policy, a strategy, a bylaw, whatever it might be, I am expecting, and you will hear from me if it doesn't happen, direct engagement made with the youth councillors, and more importantly, that they be given the opportunity to circle back that information into this chamber, not as a member of the public forum, but as a governing part of the report. That's how we get that meaningful flow of information, because yes, as Councillor Moroney points out, there's not, actually none of us are under 30 now. So, I mean, the chair is youth adjacent. I don't know if anyone else is. I should be quiet. See, there's the bell just in time. But that is my expectation. And as I said, you will hear from me, and I think you'll hear from others, particularly Councillor Moroney, if that doesn't happen. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Councillor Corrales.
Oh, thank you. Like everyone else, Chair, I support your report, and I also am very grateful for the efforts that you spend in your evenings and your weekends representing us in the community. So thank you, and also to your deputy. Yes, look, I absolutely accept that the Youth Council and our youth are a very important voice. I'm not sure I agree that collectively we represent the wisdom of the elders in our community. So no offence to anybody here. But I do come from a culture where we value our elders as much as we value our youth. In fact, we revere our elders, which is why I put my hand up to be the age-friendly ambassador. So I'm very keen to support finding a way, without duplicating current efforts, to ensure that we are proactively getting insights and using these insights from this community constructively and evidencing this in the decisions that we make. Today was the first time I've heard of our age-friendly forum, and I'll be picking this up with staff and getting stuck in there and applying increased efforts to support the amplification of that voice and the flow of information from that forum into this space. So thank you.
Kia ora. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Chair. I'd also like to briefly acknowledge the Youth Council initiative. With over 100 applications for 12 positions, it's clear that there is strong appetite among the young people of the city to engage with council and contribute to their city. What they don't possess in terms of life experience, they possess in fresh perspectives. And while everything they might come up with might not be viable, if allowed, they will challenge us to think differently. But this will only work if there is direct engagement with us as elected members. There are pockets of the community that are engaged with council, and the Youth Council is one example of this. But we also have people who come in, they submit regularly, they follow council comms regularly, they come and speak. But in a city of 192,000 people, there are still a lot of people who don't engage for a number of reasons. So I wanted to take the opportunity to just put this challenge to staff and to elected members to try to lift public engagement and confidence in council to increase that pool of engaged residents. The last thing I'd like to touch on is give acknowledgement to the animal control team. Having seen firsthand some of the challenges that they deal with regularly, it's invisible work that people don't think about until they're face to face with a dangerous dog. But given the number of dogs in the city and the invisibleness of this work, yes, the team are simply doing their jobs, but I think it is a testament to how well that team actually does. Thank you.
Kia ora. There's no more speakers. I'll just exercise my right of reply, and thank everyone for their comments, but really it is then I'll just debate. Yeah, that actually we have a very engaged council in our community, and I want to thank my deputy for the amount of time that she puts in, and the mayor as well for the personal commitment you give to representing our city and engaging, and that goes for everyone in this room, and just want to thank everyone. So it's not just about me, everyone commits to it, and also agree with the the conversations about ensuring the forums and the policies we have are not just tokenistic, that we're measuring performance and ability and the actual change that these committees and policies are driving. So I think that's an important point. On that, will we have can we have a mover for the? Oh, already. This is why I have good governance next to me. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Carried unanimous. Oh, God. Carried unanimously. We'll move to item 8, renaming and change of the reserve reclassification for Boys Park. And I welcome back Emily and welcome Caroline Hopa of Ngāti Wairere, who's kindly supporting this presentation today. Welcome Caroline, welcome back Emily.
Kia ora again. I'm joined today with Carolyn Hopa from representing Ngāti Wairere. Today's report addresses 2 matters. Firstly, an application from mana whenua representatives to rename Boys Park to Hinimoa Park. This request arose through engagement associated with the playground and wider park upgrades. The proposed name change is consistent with council policy and aligns with He Pou Manawa Order. I'd also like to note that the descendants of George Boys have been engaged and are also supportive of the proposed change, with the expectation that his contribution continues to be recognised. Secondly, the report seeks approval to commence public consultation on the proposal to reclassify part of the reserve. The reclassification is proposed to ensure the reserve classification aligns with the park's current and intended use, and to provide consistency within the open space across the West Town Belt. We are happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Emily. Did Carolyn, were you
We're
having?
just going to wait for
You're going to wait? Okay. All right. Deputy Mayor Taylor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you very much for the report. Look, I acknowledge that you have spoken to George Boys' grandchildren about this, but I would ask that given that the park's been named Boys Park for 103 years, would it not be appropriate to publicly consult on it before we make that change?
So, in terms of our council policy, we consider that on a case-by-case basis, and it is up to the unit director of Parks and Rec to make that decision. Because the family were really supportive and also mentioned that they think it would be something that George would have supported as well, we made the decision that that was good enough.
Okay. Okay, so there's no statutory requirement. I understand that. It's the discretion of the unit manager.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Okay. Look. Thanks, Chair. I'll just let you know I do have an amendment. I haven't had a chance to socialise it. Sorry, folks. I've just been working on it and getting the wording right, which would enable the public to have a say on it before we make a decision. Thank you.
We could make use of the break to socialise or get that right, and then come back depending on the availability of our presenters today. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Chair. The report notes support from George Boys' descendants and an expectation that his contribution will continue to be recognised. Have the descendants had the opportunity to comment on the proposed approach to interpretation? And are they comfortable that the decisions that we will make I mean the unit director, will make appropriately reflect his contribution?
Yes, so firstly, we've also sent them a copy of the report and they had no concerns with that. We have said that we will work with the family in terms of any interpretive signage that we do, and that will be part of the playground upgrade. So there will be further communication with the family around that.
Thank you. And beyond the naming itself, what factors led staff to conclude that this would actually strengthen and identify the legibility of the park?
I think generally a lot of people consider that Hinimore Park anyway, in terms of out in the community, and certainly when mana whenua were engaged as part of the playground upgrade, it was quite a strong sentiment that would be wanted.
Okay, thank you. I was just testing the evidence for moving in that direction. The other couple of questions I have are in terms of the reclassification. So the reclassification would enable putting in the playground, is that correct?
Not necessarily enable, but I think it just sort of tidies up the how it's currently classified. So it was classified as local purpose civic centre for the Founders Theatre. With that gone, it makes sense to continue that classification along all of the parcels.
Thank you. So does that mean that the playground could proceed without the reclassification?
Best practice would be to reclassify to enable the playground.
Thank you. That's best practice, but technically, could the playground go in there without a reclassification?
Yes.
Thank you. And so my last question is the consultation that's proposed informed-based, or is it full consultation? What happens if the community says no?
So it is full consultation. So we go out with a proposal and seek community's views. So any submissions will come back to council, and council will consider those before any decision is made on the reclassification.
Thank you. I was just testing if it was a genuine opportunity for the community to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Curran.
Thank you. A couple of questions in relation to the proposed name change. I'm not familiar with the policy. Are there grounds or thresholds that need to be reached before a decision is made to approve?
I can read out the wording of the policy if you'd like.
Well, but is there a threshold that needs to be reached before the unit director decides to go ahead?
I might just pass that to our unit director to answer that question.
So the policy provides guidance, but ultimately in this scenario, the discretion is delegated to the unit director to make a call on that consultation element of the proposal. You really do need to read the policy to understand how it works. So it may be helpful for Emily to point to those specific parts of it.
Yes, or I could familiarise myself during the break. But, yeah.
I can just read out this, it's just a sentence.
Sure.
So if renaming an existing open space, Council's Unit Director Parks and Recreation will consider the application in partnership with the appropriate mana whenua groups, undertake wider consultation where required, undertake additional heritage reviews and will implement the changes, including the installation of interpretive signage.
So that speaks to the discretion in relation to consultation, but I can't hear what factors you're directed to take into account when you're deciding whether to approve the application or not. Okay, thank you. My next question is, the recommendation refers to the current context and use and identity of the park as a justification. Are you able to provide, and I'm assuming this is because Hinimore Park, the adjacent park, they get used together, Are you able to provide tangible examples of the parks being used together, or specifically how renaming supports a consistent approach with the adjoining Hinemoa Park?
Again, I'll pass to Maria for that again.
So there was a number of things that contributed to that in terms of, obviously the Mana Whenua view and whole of history, context in relation to that site. Also through the West Town Belt, one of the strongest themes through that process was about stitching the town belt back together, and it seems that this is a way to kind of honour both of those things and also provide almost a fresh start for the space, acknowledging the history, the total history of the past, including, for a time it was the site of Founders Theatre, but previous to that it had many uses, and, renaming, signalling, we're moving forward as well. So a number of things were in the mix there.
So, what implications does that have then for Seddon Park? And because there's a whole West Town belt. Are we thinking about renaming the whole belt?
That isn't on the table currently.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity that came up. We had strong feedback from Ngāti Waireere and Thorpe supporting the rationale. There's been strong input into the design, and it tied together from my perspective.
Just two more questions then. So has there been any examination of what the renaming might cost and the signage, and how much who will bear the cost of recognising the change, and also, I guess, George Boys, making sure that what is all the thinking around that? Yeah.
Oh.
And who will pay it?
I can answer that. So the approximate cost for a sign is between $3,000 and $4,000. So these new signs are going to be erected as part of the playground upgrades anyway, and will be covered by the playground budgets.
Yeah.
In terms of any other administration required with the change of name, that's also going to be packaged up with any reclassification work. So it wouldn't have any additional cost from that side of things.
And the recognition, ensuring George Boys is recognised, how will that be? At
this stage, it's looking like that will be part of some of the interpretive signage, so a little bit of a history to the park.
Okay. My final question, and this is in relation to the reclassification, and it's just being clear about where we're at in the process, because not all of us are familiar with the background. So is it correct that contracts are already in place for the delivery of the playground? And this is one of the reasons why we're moving to reclassification now?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senior Councillor O'Leary.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Emily, for the report. I just seeking some clarity. Very familiar with the policy. How do you determine when interest comes from the community to rename a park or a road, whether the organisation says yes, so the community, you submit the application, or the organisation says yes, that's a great idea, so we will submit the application? Because the policy allows for the community and for council, but ultimately, no matter what happens, council is the decision maker. So I'm trying to understand, because it wasn't clear from the report.
That might be a Maria question.
We've had in the past community applications doing this, and then the costs sit with the community applicant. I'm not sure what this is.
So in this case, this is a Mana Whenua request, and so it was considered as a partnership. So rather than a request coming, it was treated in the light of our partnerships. And so staff have, because we're required to consult with mana whenua.
Yep. Yeah. So under the partnerships and the partnership agreements, etc., staff have said we will do this. We will present this as a council renaming. Okay, because that just wasn't 100% clear to me. Okay. I think that was actually my main question. Some of the other questions have been asked. Is it, and I'm aware of an amendment, or it could be the motion, because I haven't heard another motion on the table yet. When we go out and consult on the reserves, could we consult on the name change together, given it's the same space, or would that confuse things because it's a special consultative process for the reserve change?
I think we could.
Yep.
The risk, as you mentioned, is that it could potentially confuse people.
Okay.
But we can do that.
Okay, all right. And I guess Chair will be talking in the break about the motion that's on the table. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Barney.
That was actually my question. I want to explore it a little more. What would be the reason why we might not do it at the same time, the consultation?
I think the reason that we might not would just be around that confusion in terms of consistency. Yeah.
Perhaps it might be helpful to highlight the consistency, and in previous parks renaming, Te Wehinga Reserve was one of the most recent. We didn't publicly consult, so it isn't something that we have done in previous parks renaming, which is part of the rationale for why we're here today. It doesn't mean that you can't, and Emily's outlined the risks.
Okay. If there was a very valid reason why the consultation couldn't happen at the same time, in the same process, what would the cost be of a separate consultation over the name change? Approximate.
I think it's close to 5,000. Slightly less, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Binner.
Chair, a couple of questions. The first is there anything being done to commemorate the Founders Theatre on that site?
Yes, so as I mentioned before, we intend to commemorate the whole history of the site, including its time where it hosted the Founders Theatre.
Yep. And second question, I'm not sure if anyone's old enough in this room to answer it, but there used to be a policy of naming parks after mayors. Not saying that this could be Mackendale Park, but like there was Jansen Park, essentially up until Margaret Evans, and then it stopped. Does anyone know why that policy was changed? Great comments from Councillor Sue. No. That's all, thanks.
Councillor Loon.
Thank you. I might miss this, but can I ask, what is the practical benefit will the proposed name change deliver for park users and wider Hamilton community?
I think practically the adjacent Hinimoa Park and Boys are experienced together, and so I think practically it, as Maria was saying earlier, it's about consistency across that West Town belt, and there is some understanding in the community of that space already being Hinimoa Park.
So for everyday park goer, to them it feels cooler.
Essentially, yes.
Thank you.
Can I also respond to that, please, Madam Chair? E mihi ana kia koutou e roto te whare. I just wanted to say that I think that it's an opportunity for us to be able to bring our communities closer together. So even though it was a name change that was effectively driven by mana whenua, and I sit here for Ngāti Wairere, we did have an in-depth conversation about it because it binds mana whenua as well. So Hene Moa was a mokopuna of Mahanga who is a grandfather to Wairere, and then Wairere is a grandfather to Haua, and it just brought us all nicely together. So I think with the opportunity of being able to engage with the boys whānau as well, it allows us to bring our community a little bit closer together. It may not be a tangible kind of outcome, but I think it will add some value.
Thank you. Councillor Huata.
In the light of major consultation that will be taking place very shortly over the next few months, i.e. Head Start, i.e. LTP, what implications does this potential added consultation for the renaming will affect other consultations in terms of potential community confusion and community fatigue? Good question.
I guess that is probably a question for comms.
Absolutely.
I'm happy to pick that up, Emily. We do have a lot of consultations out there at the moment, and as well as that dollar value that Emily talked about with the $5,000, it's also a lot of staff time and not just the consultation design, but also the analysis, etc., of submissions. So one of the ways that we do manage our costs and priorities in communications is not to consult on absolutely everything, which is the prioritisation process that Emily and Maria spoke about earlier. So it will put pressure on the team. It will mean that people are having to engage with us on a range of issues all at the same time. And then people will make up their own mind, I guess, about if that balances.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Casey Cox.
Yeah, just a question in regards to the motion on the table around consulting. Would it be within the consultation document, would the facts be made clear around the boys' family supporting the name change? Like, what kind of level of detail would we be able to go into in regards to the facts?
Oh, I think that's probably a consultation question as well. With every consultation we do make sure that people have the relevant information to make informed input on the matter at hand. So that would, I'm sure, would be considered relevant information.
Okay, thank you.
Balancing that, though, with the neutrality, of course, but it does seem to be a very cool thing.
Thank you. Councillor Corrales.
Yes, just one question, one more question, and just the report notes that there is an estimate of approximately $3,000 for consultation, including public and gazette notices, in relation to the reclassification, and we've just been given a figure of $5,000 for consultation in relation to the name change. What drives? I know it's an estimate. I know you're on the spot. What drives the difference? And if they're brought together, surely there would be some efficiencies, or there wouldn't be duplication. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, certainly. So that was a off the top estimation. So somewhere between that $3,000 and $5,000 mark, if we were to go out separately with consultation. So 2 separate consultations on the renaming and reclassification.
Yeah, together between 3 and 5 for both to be done separately, and then if they were to be done together, what would be the?
It would probably only increase by a slight, that
Okay,
3,000 would
thank
only
you.
be a slight increase.
Thank you.
The biggest impact would probably be staff time from.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Interpretation. Mangai Oli.
Chair Emma, just for clarification, probably a question for Maria. So the playground can be established under the existing classification and the name can be changed under existing council policy, is that correct?
Yes, there is a map in the appendix that shows you the blue area that's proposed for reclassification.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you. That's all the questions. An amendment has just been circulated, so what we'll do is we'll take the break if the presenters are happy to take a 10-minute break for morning tea. And
Can I just finish by saying that that the name change application was made by the collective of mana whenua. It wasn't actually just Ngāti Wairere, that there had been consultation that had taken place amongst us. My attendance here today was more because I drew the short straw, or depending on how well you know me, you drew the short straw. But I came to support both the report and Emily and the presentation of it. Mana whenua don't have the resources or capacity to be able to develop a report that's as good as this one. So, e mihi ana kia koe, Maria, me koe hoki e hoa.
oh,
Just a question on process. You've called the Deputy Mayor's motion an amendment, but there's no other motion on the table yet. Unless somebody has moved the staff report, his amendment becomes the motion.
And I think we wanted to take the break to
Sort that out.
sort those options, but
Great.
yeah. Deputy Mayor Taylor. Cool. So with the indulgence of our presenters, then we'll take a short 10-minute morning tea / discussion break and 15 minutes. Let's be real. We'll come back at
As long as that's not 20.
at 22. we have the amendment which is put forward by Deputy Mayor Taylor, seconded by Senior Councillor O'Leary. And then the staff recommendation has been moved by Councillor Casey Cox and seconded by Councillor Niha. I will allow questions of the amendment and the motion, but we have taken staff questions. So if there are any questions on either? No. That being so, I'll just open for debate. Anyone on the board? Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Chair. When we make changes to names that have long histories, it's important that the process, rationale, costs and intended benefits are clear. What I was looking for was confidence that those connected to George Boys had been engaged appropriately, and I'm confident that they have been. I also acknowledge the origin of this initiative from Mana Whenua. On that basis, I support consulting on the name change, and I support most of the elements of the motion. I've heard the confirmation that contracts have been entered into for the construction of the playground. I understand that this vote is about reclassification, not whether the playground should proceed. But my sense is, in the current climate, people are struggling to pay their rates. Consulting on best practice, but not strictly necessary, reclassification to enable a new playground feels a bit like rubbing salt in the wound for those that are struggling, because it affirms that council is continuing to spend on nice-to-haves and asking the public for their input on a related but adjacent issue. So as a protest vote, I will not be supporting consultation on the reclassification. This is not an anti-consultation vote. It is an anti-spend on things we don't need and can't afford right now vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor McIndoe.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologise. I'm going to have to leave immediately after this, so I'll be fairly quick. It is very important, in my view, that we respect the history of our city, not only going back to the early days of European settlement, but of course going right back to the early days of Mana Whenua. And getting the balance right can sometimes be difficult. For that reason, I am very supportive of ensuring that our consultation is comprehensive, respectful, and effective. I don't buy the argument that this would raise confusion in our public. I think if people are sufficiently motivated to participate in the consultation phase process, they will be, and they're sufficiently intelligent to understand what they're being asked to do. Yes, there are other matters that we could be consulting on, that we will be, particularly in the run-up to the LTP, and yes, these things come at cost, and I'm particularly concerned to ensure we don't unnecessarily waste money. But I do want to ensure that we pay respect to all the parties who have an interest in this issue. I was reassured when I heard that the family of the late George Boys have been engaged already and that apparently they are comfortable, but I think we need to go wider than that and talk to our community as a whole to find out if there are things that we don't know yet that we should be taking into account. I must admit I know very little about him, but I understand that he was particularly instrumental in ensuring our green belt back in the day. So my preference would be to ensure that we have a process that is respectful, comprehensive, involves all voices in our community, and that we can then come to the most informed decision.
Thank you, Mayor McIndoe. Deputy Mayor Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. Look, my amendment is not outright opposing the proposed name change. I am just suggesting we at least run it by the community. And this amendment requires us to ask the public about the name change at the same time as we ask them about the reclassification. And I really do believe this park fits the threshold for this. I think if a park is a name for more than 100 years, and surely it warrants at least asking the question. If you aren't going to ask the public about the name of a park which has been in existence for 103 years, then when are you going to? What is the threshold? I respect Mana Whenua's request, and I acknowledge the Māori history relating to Hinemoa is compelling, but I also point out that that is already acknowledged at Hinemoa Park. And I like my more recent local history as well. I regularly write about it. And I'm not a fan of changing names unless it's for a good reason. I would prefer to add to history rather than remove names. And George Boys was Secretary of the Domain Board for 33 years, essentially operational manager of the public park development. The Domain Board was central to creating Hamilton's town belt, which Boys Park is part of. So this is not some character, you know, like a Bryce or a Von Tempsky responsible for heinous acts. We traditionally honour people who help shape key public infrastructure, and he was one of those. And to me, removing the name so casually implies that Boy's contribution wasn't important, and I think it was. He helped embed the creation and stewardship of the public park system and the preservation of city green spaces in the city. And I think the public at least deserves the courtesy of being asked. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bidder.
Thank you, Chair. I love history. I love the stories place names tell. It is an enduring tragedy that Maori history was subjugated, overwritten and erased. Removing Boy's name is not a solution to this. We can right past wrongs by adding to history, ending the cycle of taking it away. I absolutely support using the playground as storytelling for Hinamaua. That is adding to history. I do not support the park's name change. We should be adding storyboards about George Boys anyway, not as a replacement. We already have Hinamaua Park. I don't see a benefit for the staff motion. I disagree with the consistency argument and the argument that some understanding that it is Hinamaua. There is also some understanding that it is Boys Park. There is Seddon Park, Beetham Park, Minogue Park and Norris Ward Park as part of this green belt. I appreciate the Boys family support the name change, but the family doesn't own Hamilton's history. His family didn't name the park. The people of Hamilton did. The people of Hamilton should have a say.
Thank you. Senior Councillor O'Leary.
Thank you, Chair. I find myself agreeing in part with Councillor Bidder. Look, I'm not advocating for one thing or another here. What I'm advocating for is proper process. For efficiency in saving money, we should simply consult together. For storytelling, we should consult together. Doing things in isolation just doesn't make sense. I'm comfortable with the intent, but the process to consult on the naming needs to match the significance of a 103-year place name. And actually this should be seen as a positive step for mana whenua recognition and community cohesion if we bring the public along and tell them the full story. The risk is if, where a decision affects people's identity, people's place, people's access, people's knowledge of long-standing names, then we need a process that's credible and defendable, because if we don't consult, then the risk is that we open it up as a surprise to complaints, to further mistrust of council and possible rework in the future. So for me, this is about consultation, and that's why I support the amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Anna Casey-Cox.
Yeah, I'm speaking in support of the motion, obviously. I understand the arguments for consulting. However, in this instance, I think where there's agreement between the Boys family and mana whenua, that's something to go with and celebrate and get on with, rather than undertaking a process which there is a lot of, at the moment, a lot of narrative, I guess, out in the community, which is looking to undermine, I would say, Te Tiriti in so many domains. And I think in this instance, we have an opportunity as a council to say, actually, we do want our He Paumanawa water strategy articulates what we think as a council, that we are wanting to be a Te Tiriti-based organisation and on a journey towards understanding what that means, that our JMA forums work actively on renaming street names, and this is basically an extension of that. That it is an opportunity also to bring unity between our mana whenua groups, and Carolyn articulated that today, and that's something that we shouldn't dismiss, because in the process of of colonisation, we have disrupted a lot of relationships, and a lot of things have suffered because of that process. So for me, this is about just getting on with something that just makes sense when the Boys family is supportive. And it sounds like George Boys was a person who had great integrity and is comfortable, would be comfortable, as his family said, with this renaming. It also brings into, I guess, the Hinimoa apartments, that the name has been accepted more broadly in our community, so it's about embracing that. Ngā mihi.
Thank you. Councillor Cross.
Thank you, Chair. The reasons proposed in the staff report for the name change were a bit amorphous for me. I am not sure that the two parks have been experienced as one park, and I recall that much discussion around the development of the master plan for the West Town Green Belt was about increasing connectivity across the distinct green belt spaces. And in fact, this, I believe, is what led to the curious decision to experiment with closing down Ross Trevor Street, which divides the two parks. And we know how that ended. However, I was compelled by Carolyn Hooper's comments this morning about the bringing together of communities, including the Boyd's family, and also staff's comments that his family expressed the view that he himself would have supported it. I believe that reclassification is cleaner and would better reflect the intended use of the park. For myself, I am more worried about the significant cost of the proposed park than the meagre cost of consultation in the overall scheme of things. But unfortunately, as a newly elected member, the horse has bolted on the matter of the park. Nonetheless, good process generally supports good outcomes. And as we are proposing consultation for reclassification, I think it is only right and fair to give the community the opportunity to input into the decision to change a park name that has had that name for over a century. So I'll be supporting the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lowe.
Thank you. I support the recognition of the history of Hinimoa and Ngāti Wā. I prefer an approach that recognizes both histories. Because Hinimoa Park is already next to it, I'm not convinced that removing established name Boys Park name is necessary. So I support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Niha.
Ko te wai te toto o te whenua, ko te whenua te oranga o te tangata. A term my Uncle Pane Taua Rangitawa shared with me when I was younger. Water is the blood of the land. The land is the sustenance of the people. There is more to this than just consultation. Mana Whenua, I've seconded this motion. Mana Whenua have proposed to us a name change. They have gone through all the right processes, discussed it with the boys. The boys have agreed to a name change with the acknowledgement that history will be told of their tupuna and of Mana Whenua. It is essential that we share that history that many at this table do not know. The actual name of that place is Te Puru o Hinimoa. Not far from there was Ngāti Te Ao, which was the stadium, was a pā site. Very important that we understand the history. We talk 100 years of history. There are hundreds of years of history for Māori and the original peoples of this land, of the city, of the space. It is significant. Mana Whenua understand that they are highlighting our tupuna, Hinimoa. They understand that they are highlighting her, particularly in today's political climate. They understand that they are highlighting her for our young mana wahine. She is a prominent tupuna within our mana whenua within the city, and it's time that that was acknowledged properly. I absolutely agree with comments that have been made today regarding consultation. We only wish that that consultation was made back in the past, prior to 100 years with mana whenua. That was not done. So I support this motion, and I support our mana whenua, and I pay particular homage to the Boys family for supporting the staff recommendation. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Mangai Oli.
Thanks, Chairman. Can I just acknowledge all the speakers on the debate points? Very robust. I think the policy here provides a framework for a name change. I note the descendants of George Boys support the motion. Also note the support from Ngāti Wairere, the mana whenua. Also note Carolyn Hooper's feedback of the binding, that rangatira of binding communities together of Wairere, Mahanga Boys and Haua, which I think is a very strong, compelling case. I note also that the reclassification is not required for the playground to be established. And I note the precedent for renaming of parks following the policy. I think with the delegated authorities in place, kind of the businessman in me says, hey, if you've got a delegated authority or if there's an existing policy, then just crack on and use it. You know, I mean, I appreciate process of local government. I also appreciate and respect delegated authority. So if there's a policy that's been approved by council in place for a name change by staff, I support that. And I'd also go further to say, if the playground can be built under existing classification, then council should consider that, because it's going to save time and finance. Because I know Councillor Huata's point about the extensive amount of consultation that's going to happen between now and 9th of August. So with that, I support the motion. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora. Councillor Strange.
Thank you, Chair. Look, I find myself looking for a way to acknowledge both Māori and European history. And I'm not exactly sure what that looks like yet. I encourage staff to, if they have some time, I know they're very busy, but to keep thinking along those lines as well. History has been one-sided in New Zealand over the past 150 years since the Treaty Waitangi. There is a rebalancing going on, which is important, which needs to happen. And I want to be a part of that rebalancing. And it's a question of how we do that and how we do it together as a community, and not in a race-based way. And if the vote goes that we head out to consultation for this, I'd be very disappointed to see it become a race-based debate, and I'd be disappointed to see councillors promote that, because I don't think that's helpful. I think what we're looking for here is a way forward and a way to rebalance the stories that we have in our community, but to not throw out one or the other, but to get a good balanced approach. We are all here in Aotearoa. We've all been here for different periods of time. Our families have been here for different periods of time. My family came in 1850. Others around this table, their families have been here for over 500 years. But it's important that we look to work together to tell all stories. So that's the kind of thing I'm looking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Huata.
Kia ora. In these current times, it's really hard not to be emotional and to not feel the impacts of what I talked about in my the Waitangi Tribunal urgent hearings to repeal so many things in different acts for Te Tiriti o Waitangi, the prioritising of Te Reo Pākehā, English language over Māori language in all government organisations, the removal of our externally appointed Māngai Māori, Jadine Kana, Oli Te Ua, Norm Hill, as well as Rachel Dean, to have a voting right on our council. However, it is not my job to be emotional. It's my job to be pragmatic and fair to our staff and to our community. So based on process, which seems to be the point for the amendment, the naming of roads, open spaces and council facilities policy from our council ensures local identity, cultural heritage and te reo Māori are celebrated. The staff who are familiar with the policy, have followed the process, are enacting their ability and their right to proceed with the recommendation that they've put on the table. I also don't want to waste any more public money, which is what we all talk about around this table, nor do I want to put extra pressure on our staff. And this will do exactly that. I do not support the amendment based on that.
Kia ora. Firstly, I want to acknowledge the work that has gone into bringing this item forward. Thank you to staff, to mana whenua, Ngā Te Wairere and the Boys family for the engagement and openness throughout this process. I agree it's important we recognise George Boys, someone who gave decades of service to Kirikiriroa. And so I think it's important to say clearly this history won't be lost. And in fact, Boys whānau have said this is not only their wish, but they feel would also have been supported by Boys. If that was not the case, then I would question the wider process which in our approved policy. At the same time, this proposal recognises the significance of Hinimoa, a tupuna of Ngāti Wairere. And I think what's often overlooked in this discussion is that for many people, this space is already associated with Hinimoa. Growing up myself, this is where Hinimoa Athletics Club was based. So even decades back then, it was a name I associated with the area, and we now have the Hinimoa apartments right alongside the park. So in many ways, this change reflects how our community already experienced this place. So for me, this is not about choosing one history over another. It's about bringing these histories together, strengthening the identity of the space and ensuring it reflects both where we've come from and who we are as a city today and our commitments to our partners. So I'm supporting the motion. If that's all the speakers, then we're going to take the vote on the board. So this will be the vote for the amendment, which is Deputy Mayor Taylor's amendment for going out to consult on the name change as well. One moment, call. Yeah, I don't think anyone, now it is. Oh, sorry, I pressed the wrong button. God. Sorry.
The amendment is lost, noting 5-4-7 against.
Okay. So now the staff recommendation is the motion, which is the one by Councillor Casey Cox, seconded by Councillor Niha. We'll go to the board.
The motion is carried, noting 8-4-5 against.
Thank you. We will move to item 9, the Sports Reserve and Management Plan. And I invite Joanna van Wolveren to come present.
Kia ora koutou. My name is Jo van Wolraven. I'm the Program and Planning Manager for Customer and Community. The purpose of today's report is to introduce the draft Community and Sport Reserve Management Plan and seek approval to consult. This gives our recreation partners, local organisation and wider community an opportunity to help shape the final plan. Reserve management plans are required under the Reserves Act. They provide a framework for how we use, maintain and develop our community and sports reserves, ensuring we balance public use with the protection of park values. The draft plan's been developed with mana whenua, community stakeholders and staff. It strengthens alignment with our wider strategic framework, and the new one places greater emphasis on outcomes such as accessibility, cultural identity, environmental resilience and partnerships. It is an amalgamation of previous reserve management plans, an integrated document, and it covers 59 community and sports parks. By having this, it enables a more consistent, coordinated approach towards the management of our parks, while still allowing for park-specific considerations. Yeah, so yeah, happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Joe.
Hi.
Question about, so this report notes that future service level and funding decisions still are matters for the asset management plans and the long-term plan. So I'm interested around, can you clarify what decisions this plan influences and what decisions remain to be made through the other plan processes?
There's quite a few, if you have a look at the plan, there's quite a few objectives and policies. That would be the major, I guess, besides the strategic direction. That's one of the main uses of these plans is for operational use, and it ensures really that our objectives and policies, A, have been tested with the community and also are consistent with our strategic vision for the parks, and also it aligns us with the requirements under the Reserves Act as well.
Okay, so it's simply an alignment of different levels of decision making? Is that how this works?
That's part of it, but I think it details there's a lot of policies and objectives around what can and can't be done on reserves. It does highlight future developments or the potential of future developments if they are available to us, or an intention for future developments, but it doesn't promise anything or
Just to help maybe give a specific example, so we heard from Turn and Circle Gymnastics this morning. So they've got, a master plan. So the management plans, if they wanted to fundraise for their building, the master plan allows for those things to happen on those parks. Whereas if you're not including those kinds of things in the management plan, then they'd have to go through a separate consultation process.
Okay, thank you, that makes sense. Are there any areas within the draft plan where there's still genuine choices to be made through consultation?
I'm just going to...
I think, Councillor Mesh, our sporting users in particular will be very interested in some of the policies and guidance provided in the plan, and the consultation enables them to have full input as people who more regularly use those spaces. It also sends signals to the wider community and enables them to engage with how we intend to manage the estate, if you like.
Thank you. What I'm testing is, are we going out with an idea that we want the community to validate, or are we going out with, this is what we want to do, what do you think?
We want full consultation with the community and full and open. Yeah.
Thank you.
We're open to it.
And my last question is, if this plan is adopted in its current form, what would be materially different in the way that council manages community and sports reserves compared with today? What will change?
We have a list of, I guess there's quite a few of our policies and objectives have been updated. And I mean, there's 17, we've currently got 17 reserve management plans, and some of them are very, very outdated. So it enables us to have a kind of consistent approach. And there's things like details like lighting and, that's just one example of the objectives and policies. There's so many I've forgotten, but there may be future developments that have been highlighted in the plan, and that will allow for those to potentially, I mean, it signals to the community that they may occur. Sorry, Maria, you go.
It possibly would be helpful if you'd seen the old sports park management plan in particular. It's like a bookend of this thick, and it's very outdated in terms of sets a whole lot of really prescriptive rules. The update is a bit more enabling in my view, and actually provides an opportunity for our community to test whether how we're managing our parks, community and sports are in line with what the community expects to see going forward.
Thank you. So just for clarity, that we are doing this because we want to update something that is now outdated. We want to tidy up our administrative processes so that it reflects what we currently do now. And we also are wanting to enable things for the future, and as part of that whole bundle, we're asking the community what they think. Is that what we're doing?
Yes, so the Reserves Act requires us to have reserve management plans, so it requires us to speak to our community about how we do this. And for all the reasons you outlined, these ones are very outdated, and I would suggest they don't suit the community's needs. The update is timely.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Senior Councillor O'Leary.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, thank you for a great report and an excellent plan. I can see that this took a number of years to do, and I'm not surprised why, taking all of those books and putting them into one. So, and over the years, I've read every single one, so you've done a fantastic job. Just on, I'm running out of charge. Just on page 102 of the plan, it's an objective that talks about parking. Sorry, I need to plug in. No, I don't. Being provided to cater for normal demand, not peak. So I'm just a little interested in that, how we're defining that, because isn't peak like a busy Saturday morning, say at Bremworth Park, considered normal and normal use than the occasional midweek dog walker?
It's a really good question. I would say that sorry, Maria.
So Angela, the opportunity here, I guess, is to test that theory with the community. The alternative is that you cater for the peak and you have giant car parks everywhere. So yeah.
And then, so my next point here was I would not be suggesting large concrete off-street car parking to accommodate that. But I think my concern is that we are mindful in this plan to not cause issues like Rifle Range Road again. Okay. There's a very busy, sports field there. So I'm sure the community will come back and comment on that, but that's my sort of line of sight at the moment. The other thing that I didn't see in here is there's a lot of talk about cycleway connection, pedestrian connections. I couldn't really see anything that spoke about connecting the transport network to and from the parks, which obviously would and should include PT. So I think that's quite a big thing missing. And my question is I'm wondering why that's explicitly not spoken of in the plan.
I think that's something that we can add to I think that's a good thing to consider. Yeah.
So you're about to go out and consult, aren't you? So
we're going, we'll be going in August is the plan at the moment, yeah.
So
and it's 2 months, yeah.
So how would we get a little bit, because other members would have a view on what that might, whether it's a principle or a policy, because obviously Access Hamilton is being reviewed, so that's no longer relevant. How would we sort of circle back and see some kind of, your response into the plan for that to go out and consult with? Only if other members are interested, because, we don't do anything with just one person. Yeah, okay.
Councillor Angela, is a way forward for that, for us to have a chat to the transport team about how we could do that, and if we can incorporate it into the draft before it goes out to the community for consultation,
Yeah.
we will, because I'm just aware that we can't speak on behalf of transport and how that works.
No, but I think it does need to be a policy under here, in particular with PT.
And I think what you may be
starkly
getting at will help us with that other matter that you raised in terms of how to get people to the games and those
Yes.
sorts of things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do think we probably do need to have a chat with transport. As you mentioned, this has been years in the making. We've
Yeah.
done our very best to
No,
capture everything.
it's excellent piece of work.
There is an opportunity between now and it becoming finalised to make sure that all of the
Yeah.
considerations are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Corrales.
Thank you. And this is somewhat related to Councillor O'Leary's questions, but perhaps at another level. So some of the strategies that we have in place and that I think are referred to in this document are going to be the subject of some review. And some of the discussion around that has been ensuring that the review reflects some of the Mayor's plan. And the question is, how will we, and I know there needs to be a level of genericness through across triennium so that it endures. How do you see maintaining responsiveness to any key changes to strategic or key documents, and also how we might reflect the Mayor's plan in either the staff reports? How does this meet the Mayor's plan through the report or either the document itself?
Is that something that we don't understand the question? Do you mean from if there are changes to the
Yes.
council's strategic framework?
Yes, well, so there are some strategies under review.
Yeah.
There has been a group pulled together.
Yeah.
Some of the conversation has been how do we reflect the Mayor's plan through some of that documentation. And so the question, I guess, is, and I know it's hard, but and it's an encouragement for all staff reports to reflect how this links to the Mayor's plan, whatever the recommendation is. So how does this link to the Mayor's plan? How will we, if there are critical changes in the strategic documents, how do we maintain responsiveness as we progress? It's not an easy question, but I think it's something that we need to keep line of sight of.
I think in terms of the Mayor's plan, that is considered through all the work we do.
Yeah.
We can make that more explicit through because nothing in here is
inconsistent,
at odds with it or inconsistent with it. And I think we can make that more explicit. In terms of strategic direction, it is a moment in time when these are developed. If there was to be, I guess, extreme changes in our strategic direction, it could be reviewed to enable that, but
Or it could be that you maintain communication with the working group that's working on those pieces of work.
Yeah. And we are,
Yeah. Okay. My next question, I've got two more. One is in relation to the plan references equity and inclusion. How will we ensure the engagement or the consultation? Because some of our communities are more concerned with the immediate pressures that they're facing and frequently don't engage in critical pieces, and I think this one is for all communities. What are we going to do to try and ensure that voices are captured, especially those that we're purporting that this will apply to?
We'll use our council networks. I mean, we have a 2-month statutory period for this, and I think that is really great, and it gives us a really good opportunity to have those really good conversations. We also have my staff members is now going into community development, so we'll have a direct person to lean on. But yeah, we will use those networks, and we'll also use our partners, our Sport Waikato, other partners, to ensure that we get this as far and wide as we can.
Yeah.
But I do, and that was one of the big actual updates, is that around accessibility is much more pronounced in this new plan, and you can see that actually in the way we operate, so it really reflects our current operations. But yes, we will be reaching out to our networks and working with our advisors to ensure that.
And the next question is around, it's no secret, potential amalgamations on foot. Do you think that this draft plan will endure, perhaps with some, expansion of tent pegs? Yeah.
Yeah, this started obviously before,
Yes.
even this report was written before.
Yes.
The,
Yeah.
we've known about some things, but yeah, I think we'd have to have conversations with our, partners as we move forward with that, I think, so.
I think there's a number of areas where we're going to have to explore how these things work over time.
We have also tried to make this high level enough, and that it isn't too prescriptive, so.
That's what I was hoping you
might.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and in recognising it as high level. However, one of the activities that I am very familiar with in the community development team is the food growing initiatives that we undertake, and I don't see that reflected anywhere in here, although it's an activity in a number of parks. So just wondering if it could just be noted as an activity that we do, or there's just nothing in there at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. That's all the questions. Can we have a mover of the item? The staff recommendation? Deputy Councillor Casey Cox. I can second it. Oh, sorry, just noting the change, which I'm happy to. You're happy to incorporate that?
Sorry, Chair, I had already indicated to Amy, sorry.
Okay, yeah.
My bad.
No,
I'd added,
you're good.
We've worked on those words.
Yeah. Do you want to second, Anna, or you want me to? Okay, I'm happy to second. We're open for debate.
Look, I don't think there's a lot to say here. We'll hear what will be super meaningful. As with most things that we do when we plan and we strategise and we make policy, is getting the public's feedback on it. I just want to really reinforce the significant amount of work. If we're looking for efficiency and cost savings, this is the way that it's done, and the staff have done an incredible job taking, I don't know how many were there, 50-something plans, and putting them all together into one that makes sense, that's high level enough to still provide direction to the community and to the organisation when we're planning parks and fields and reserves in this space. And also I think they have captured really well the key priorities, whether it was deliberately aligned to the Mayor's plan or not. It should be, and I think that it is at a very high level. But this management plan is enduring and will outlast us for another many, many years to come. So really looking forward to public consultation and the valuable feedback that they will give us. But again, excellent work, staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Moroney.
Thank you, Chair Emma. Look, I want to say at the outset that I'm going to support this amended staff recommendation for two reasons. Firstly, this is the right level of full consultation with our community. This is good governance. we are then charged with, as we sit around this table, taking this out for community consultation, hearing the community's consultation on this level of policy and plan development, and then using our elected responsibilities around this table to make decisions, not going out on then blow-by-blow consultation around the governance decisions involving the operalisation, got that wrong, of a plan like this. So it's the right level for that type of consultation and full consultation with our community, in my view. Secondly, I want to applaud and thank Councillor O'Leary for pointing out the to me, a very obvious omission around public transport considerations in particular. It concerns me that it feels like a bit of a theme coming through that we regularly have to specifically raise public transport as part of what our transport options should be looking like. That does concern me. And maybe that will be fixed by local government reform that brings together the planning and the operation. I'm going to not say that word. I can't get it right, but you know, brings together all the aspects of both infrastructure and route development and all those things of public transport. So hopefully we won't have to continue to make amendments at this level around public transport again. Kia ora.
Thank you. I'll just make a brief comment. I just want to thank staff for their extensive amount of work on this. This plan is about simplifying what has become a very complex set of 17 management plans to a higher level document that will be easier, hopefully, both for our staff and our community to understand. It's a much more practical and effective way forward. This is a long, full 2-month consultation. I think we'll hear a real range of views from all the different user perspectives. So that will be a challenge, I think, in staff and being able to capture that. But yeah, I'm interested in hearing the public feedback, and I thank Councillor O'Leary for shaping this, the addition and the motion as well to get a better outcome. So thank you. I support the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against?
Motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. We're gonna try keep going to 1 to see if we can get the last of these items out, but we may need to stop for lunch if discussion's gone so long. So just bearing that in mind, we'll move to item 11, the Hukanui easement. Yep. We'll move to item 10. Proposed facility developments for Lugton and Maris Parks. We welcome. Yeah. We welcome Maria.
Kia ora koutou, ko Maria, toku ingoa. I'm very aware that there's been a theme with the reports today in regards to seeking approval to go to consultation, and this is another one. So you heard from Emma Brooks from Turn and Gymnastics Circle earlier. So we've got 2 examples where we have got user groups or clubs who are wanting to fully fund the development of buildings on reserves. And because our reserve management plan is so old, the most efficient way to enable those proposed developments is to consult with our community to see how they feel about the built form or the proposal in front of them. So I acknowledge the request to kind of limit the consultation, but put this report in front of you as an option to enable these groups to get ahead of the summer construction season, because if we consulted in line with the management plan, then that would push the construction season out for them and their fundraising plans. And, you know, so all of these steps for these groups provide them more certainty towards meeting their goals. I'll leave it there and open for questions.
Thank you. Councillor Strange.
Hey, thanks for the report, Maria. There was, in terms of the initial proposal for Marist, there was accommodation included that got removed. Do you want could you explain why there was?
The accommodation proposal is extremely difficult from a Reserves Act perspective, and in talking with Marist about that, their preference was to get away with the gym, like get the gym as the highest need for their club. Okay. That accommodation was kind of a supplementary proposal as a nice to have. So in conversation with Blair, he has modified his proposal and is very happy to proceed with the gym as something that would be of great benefit to the club and the wider community.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't see the Marist indicative cost in there. I know they're paying for it, but I was just out of curiosity more than anything.
So their indicative cost for their stage 1 proposal is around 3.5 mil.
Yeah, okay. And they're fully funding that?
They are fully funding it.
themselves.
My understanding is that they've got, and they've got a great track record of
Yeah,
fully
they do.
funding
They
these
do.
things,
They do.
but do have funders interested in their proposal.
Great. And final question, their timeline to start building in terms of Marist?
As with anything Blair Curry does, it is this summer
Yeah,
construction
quick.
season, or yesterday would be better.
Yeah, okay, all good, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you. So can you help orienting me? Are we consulting because there are concerns with these proposals, or because that's the process we need to follow?
We're consulting because it is the process we need to follow, and also the built form on a reserve is there for generations. So consider it to be in the public interest. We expect the neighbours will have higher interest than perhaps the wider community. Yeah.
Thank you. So both?
Yeah.
Second question is, what's the piece of information beyond what the neighbours will say that this consultation is intended to help us understand?
So it will help the council because subsequent to the developments we'll have lease arrangements, and so it will be helpful to understand if there's any conditions that need to go in those lease arrangements, and helpful to understand if there is any valid concern from the community in respect of them.
Thank you. And the last thing was, you noted that due to the outdated state of the current community and sports reserve management plan, it was more efficient to consult. So what would the process be if a consultation wasn't approved?
So if we weren't updating the plan, we would be proposing we separately consult as we are. We are updating the plan, and if we were to use that vehicle for consultation for these two proposals, the timelines being 2 months open versus 1 month open, start impacting ability to get construction windows for summer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Moroney.
Thank you. Yeah, look, I'm just trying to update my knowledge on generally how this particular reserve operates. So it's a reserve. I'm correct about that, and it's owned by Hamilton City Council, the reserve, and there are a number of tenants who lease land from the council. Is that correct?
So if you're referring to Eastlink,
yes.
So Eastlink
Sorry, yes, I am.
is Lugden Park. It's entirely owned by council. There are a collective group that we have a head lease with the Eastlink combined club.
Yes, I saw that in the report.
And
yes.
there's badminton, hockey, inline hockey, tennis, and a number of new groups that may wish to join them. And so we have land, we lease the land, they own the buildings. Yeah.
Thank you. And I think you've partially answered my second question, because I was trying to understand about equity of access to this council-owned facility for groups. So the process for that is to belong to the, what's it called, the East?
You can belong to the tennis club, you can belong to the badminton club, you can be a member of the umbrella
No, sorry, I'm
club.
talking about
Yeah.
the clubs themselves. They need to become part of the community hub. Is that what it's called? Sorry, I've lost the name of it now.
Yeah, so the clubs all have subleases with the Eastlink head lease is how it works,
Eastlink,
yes.
yes. Okay, are there any barriers to entry for any club to join that, the Eastlink?
No, I don't believe so. There is some obvious complementary, it's mostly racket sports. So they do, as operating as a hub, you probably get more benefits in having some co-location there. Yeah.
And just to clarify, council owns the land, but not the facilities
Yes.
themselves. Okay.
Yes,
yeah.
no, understanding that, yes.
Okay.
And what I'm just trying to get clear in my head is how clubs get to be in the position of being involved in that that type of arrangement. But I think I've got it clear now, thank you.
So previous to the hub model, it was just a group of individual clubs who happened to own buildings on the same park.
Right.
So in having the hub model, they actually work together more than they did previously, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Casey Cox.
Yeah, my question's more on the Marist proposal. So that's a commercial proposal on public land. Is that right?
Not entirely. So on a recreation reserve, a gym is considered to be a supplementary activity to support a rugby club. So it's reasonable to expect that a rugby club will want its members to have some fitness training. In this case, it's focusing on strength and conditioning, and I've got a feasibility study that's been done by the club, which actually demonstrates wider support from schools and other users. Yeah.
Great. So that would be, in terms of the community benefit that's enabled by it, that would be part of the consultation document that we put out.
Yes, yeah, so we would put out to the community what is proposed, and so we'd work with Marist to actually get the snippets from this full feasibility report and then have the community's ability to comment on that.
And just finally, so commercial developments that clubs may undertake to enable their costs to be met, that's a relatively new development. Do you think that's well traversed or covered in our community occupancy policy or elsewhere?
So the community occupancy policy does go some way to consider commercial applications, but not to the extent that some of our bigger proposals have proposed. So I think what you're referring to is some of the other proposal, the Cote Pacifica proposal, that wasn't fully contemplated by the policy, but the policy is due for renewal and elected members will have an opportunity to look at how that works.
And with all proposals, there is a criteria that, so the clubs are expected to demonstrate how that will go back into the running of the club and what the community benefit is. So, and that's for all proposals relating to commercial activity on reserves.
It might be helpful, Councillor Anna, to note that this is not a Snap Fitness type model proposed on a reserve. Yeah, it's a strength and conditioning gym to support players' health and well-being. Yeah.
No, I understood. Yeah. Thank you.
No, Ollie.
Going to move the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Corrales.
I couldn't see it in the report, but they are neighbours. Do they support each other's proposals?
They do, largely, yes. I think Eastlink have some master planning that they have done, and yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's good. And then the second one is in relation to, is it TNGC? There's a funding shortfall. Can you speak to the risk or the confidence in terms of them being able to meet that shortfall between now and whenever they're proposing to start the work?
So I do have some updates to that. So my understanding is that they're currently sitting at halfway for their funding target. Again, some of these groups find it really difficult to get that final bit of funding without that certainty from council that they can actually proceed. So in doing this, it enables that certainty. It doesn't say it has to happen in the next year or two, but it does, yeah, it's an enabling piece.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a mover of the motion. Can we have a seconder? Councillor Strange. I'll open for debate, noting we're waiting for lunch. Councillor Strange?
I'll just be brief. Look, I speak in favour of this proposal. I think it's good that sports clubs are looking for revenue streams other than grants. There's only a certain amount of grant money to go around at the moment. This sort of innovative thinking is important. It is important that access remains to our sports clubs, and I know staff are very cognizant. Sports parks. I know staff are very cognizant of that. I support the proposal. I know particularly for Marist, they had a number of letters of support from other sports clubs, other codes, schools who would use the strength and conditioning gym. So, as one of the staff mentioned, it's not a purely commercial operation. And they do have a good track record. I support the staff recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Corrales?
Thank you. I too support the staff recommendation. I think we should celebrate groups that are proactive in taking their destiny into their own hands. This is not a handout, this is a handout. And I do note that both these groups have strong community support for their activities. There's capability and credibility to deliver there, and at least one of them that I'm familiar with has a known track record for delivery. And that same group actually subsidises free access for children under a certain age from their own pockets year on year, so this actually benefits the broader community. I absolutely support enabling these proposals to progress. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. Okay, so we've got a mover and a seconder. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against?
Motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. So we've got the last official item of the open meeting, and we have the grant for the easement for Hokanui School. And we have Aaron here to present. Kia ora, Aaron.
Tēnā koutou. My name is Aaron Marsh. I'm a part of the Parks Planning team within the Customer and Community Group. I'll also say that I'm a long-term local government employee, but first-time presenter to this council. The report before you seeks to approve the grant of an easement over reserve land to Hokanui School. The school has used an informal access track across a part of Kirikiriroa Gully Reserve for many years and now wishes to formalise that arrangement. The request aligns with the reserve's purpose, current policy settings, and more importantly, the easement will not adversely affect public access, enjoyment or function of the reserve. And on the matter of costs, all costs related to the easement will be covered by the school. And just finally, staff recommend the granting of the easement as its practical, low-impact solution that formalises access while supporting the school's operations and maintaining the reserve's function. Happy to take any questions.
There are no questions. I think it. Oh, sorry, there are. Deputy Mayor Taylor.
I was going to say thank you for your presentation, and I'll move.
Thank you. Just so I understand the practical effect of the decision today, does the easement change how the reserve is used today, or does it simply formalise an arrangement that already exists?
Yeah, it formalises an arrangement that already exists. It in no way impacts on the way the reserve is used by the public or anyone for that matter.
Thank you. And one other question is, are there any foreseeable circumstances where granting this easement might limit the use of the reserve down the line?
I wouldn't have thought so, given that the space has been used as it has been for 50 plus years. I'm not sure that that's going to change anytime soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Corrales?
Well, this is a little bit not tangential, but the report says there's no formal record of a key being issued, and I just wondered whether there was any risk that there might be other keys out there for which there is no record, for which we're not, that we might not be aware of.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is.
It wasn't
But-
quite what I was
But yeah, unfortunately, with the system that we use, there's always a risk that if we issue a key and someone doesn't return it and there's change in staffing, then it just falls into.
So I suppose this sounds like an historical situation. Maybe what we can do is seek assurance that current practice would not enable that so easily or readily to happen.
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah.
We have a mover and Deputy Mayor Taylor. There were several seconders, but I didn't see a councillor. Oh, Councillor Meridia. Cool. So all those in favour say aye. Against?
Carried unanimously.
Excluded.
We got a mover and a seconder. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried.
Carried unanimously.
No, that was removed.